Dear children, welcome to another session of Children's Liturgy. This is the third Sunday of Lent. The theme for this week is Sweeping Away Distractions. Let us listen to the Gospel reading.
A reading from John chapter 2, verses 13 to 22. Jesus went to Jerusalem to celebrate the Passover. He found the temple in Jerusalem full of people selling animals, and among them sat the money changers. He was very angry and overturned the tables of the money changers, scattering their coins everywhere. He chased the animals and the merchants out of the temple, shouting at them, "Take all of these things away and stop making my Father's house into a marketplace." The temple priests tried to stop Jesus and asked, "What right do you have to act like this?" Jesus answered, "Destroy this temple, and I will raise it again in 3 days." "This temple took 46 years to build. How could you rebuild it in 3 days?" they exclaimed. The temple which Jesus spoke of was his own body, and after his resurrection from the dead, his disciples would understand what Jesus had said that day.
Hi children, did many of you go visiting during the recent Chinese New Year celebrations? How many of you visited your grandparents or relatives? What did you enjoy about the visit? Was it the bak kwa or pineapple tarts you ate? Or was it the ang baos? Or did you enjoy spending time playing with your cousins? When I was a child, I certainly enjoyed these things, so much so that sometimes I focused on the food, the ang baos, the playing, and forgot about talking to my grandparents and spending time with them. I forgot that the most important thing about Chinese New Year was the reunion and spending time talking and catching up with the family members that I love. Simply put, I got distracted by all the festivities that I lost sight of the most important part of the celebration. For those of you who do not celebrate Chinese New Year, when you have meals with your family, are you distracted by your phone, TV, or devices? Or do you spend the time talking to your parents and family and listening to them? Today, we hear that Jesus went to the temple and got angry. In fact, he was so angry that he overturned tables and scolded people at the temple. This is a side of Jesus we're not used to seeing. So what did the people do at the temple that got him so angry? You see, Jesus felt that the people at the temple were distracted and had also lost sight of the most important thing to do at the temple. That is, to pray and spend time with God. Let me bring you back more than 2,000 years ago to Jesus' time to see what happened. This is the temple that Jesus was at. The temple was massive and beautiful. Everyone who believed in God would travel to this temple to worship. This included many poor people who would travel long distances on foot to come to this temple. When they reached the temple, the first thing they would do is to go to the money changers in the temple to change special money, which would allow them to buy animals to sacrifice at the temple. Sacrificing animals to God was very important to them. They believed that they had to sacrifice animals to show they were holy and to please God. Now there were 2 things that were happening in the temple that made Jesus angry. Firstly, the money changers and the shopkeepers were cheating the poor people by charging them very high prices. Instead of focusing on serving God, these money changers and shopkeepers were focused on making money. They used God's temple to cheat others. Secondly, Jesus was angry that everyone was very distracted in the temple, buying and selling animals, changing money, and not focused on praying. They had turned the temple to a marketplace and not a place of prayer. In the Gospel, we see how Jesus overturned the tables and swept the shopkeepers' things away. Jesus wants us to sweep away anything that distracts us from God. What do you spend a lot of your time and energy on? Does it distract you or bring you closer to God? For example, do you spend a lot of time watching YouTube, Netflix, TikTok, or playing computer games? Do you spend a lot of time being upset with your siblings or schoolmates? How about when you're attending Mass or watching Mass online? Are you distracted? Do you think about what to eat or play with your toys whilst watching the children's liturgy video? Do you leave prayer to the last minute of the day and rush through it? Or do you set aside time and go to a quiet place to pray? Lent is a season where we give up on things that distract us from God. Have you been working on your Lenten promise card? What have you promised to give up so that you can focus on God? Will you cleanse your life of distractions this Lent? The choice is yours.